Heredity and evolution. So in the earlier chapters I have already discussed about the topic how do organisms reproduce. So from today I'll start with fresh chapter, heredity and evolution. So from this chapter, today's topic of discussion is terminology of genetics. That means what are the terminologies that are required in order to start a genetics, in order to start a chapter. You have to know this first. If you don't watch these video lectures of today and if you don't understand today's lecture, you're not able to cope up with the chapter genetics because these terminologies are must. So I'll come up with the different terminologies. Today I'll explain 10 to 15 terminologies. You have to know the terms that are used in genetics. So without any delay, let's start with the topic terminology of genetics under the topic heredity. Clear? So let's start. So in the topic of terminology of genetics, this is a very important video lecture. If you miss it, you'll be having a lot of problems in understanding the chapter. I've given the picture of Mendel. He's the father of genetics. So let's see with the different slides. First, what is a chromosome? Clear? A chromosome is a thread-like structure in the nucleus of a cell formed of DNA which carries gene. Clear? So inside a chromosome, numerous genes are present. What is present inside a chromosome? Numerous genes. Now what is a gene? So a gene is a unit of DNA on the chromosome which governs the synthesis of one protein that controls a specific characteristics or trait of an organism. A gene are actually unit of heredity which transfer characteristics or traits from parents to the offspring during reproduction. So first is chromosome. Chromosome, inside chromosome numerous genes are present. These genes are unit of heredity. Clear? So previously when Mendel discovered the monohybrid and dihybrid cross. That time the word genes was not discovered, so he used the term factors, traits. Clear? So now we'll come to allele. What are allele? Allele are the alternative form of gene. So the alternative form of gene of a trait is called allele. Alright. So now next is variation. What is a variation? So the difference in the characteristics, the difference in the characters or traits among individual of a species is called variation. So that means no two individuals in this world are unique, means same, isn't it? No two individuals in this world are same. They all are unique. They all are different from each other, isn't it? So that's why that is called heredity. So first we have studied chromosome, inside chromosome gene, inside genes alleles. Next we have talked about variation. Inside alleles there are nucleotide, inside nucleotide nucleoside, inside nucleoside nitrogen base and pentose sugar. Clear? So you'll study all this. Clear? Like inside nitrogen base there are purine and pyrimidine. Inside purine there are adenine and guanine. Inside pyrimidine there are cytosine, thymine and uracils. Clear? So these are the smallest unit. So you have to know that factors or trait is a hereditary unit. Clear? So the unit of DNA is gene. Next is F1 generation. What is F1 generation? See, when two parents cross or breed to produce progeny or offspring, then their progeny is called first filial generations. Clear? When the two parents cross, isn't it? The first time the crossing is called first generation. So this is also called first filial generation. F1 means first filial generation. Same thing for F2 generation. F2 means second filial generation and it is the second generation, isn't it? So when the first generation progeny cross or breeds among themselves to produce the second generation progeny, then this progeny is called second filial generation or F2 generation. So the first parents that are crossing, that is F1 generation, produce the one product offspring. These offspring when crosses with another female, that is a second generation. Now what is heredity? The transmission of characters or traits from parents to their offspring is called heredity. So what is heredity? It is a transmission of characters or trait from parents to their offspring is called heredity. Clear? Now genetics. Genetics is the study of heredity. What is genetics? Genetics is the study of heredity. Clear? So these all I have discussed. Trait I have discussed. So what is a trait? Any characteristics that can be passed from one parent, from parent to offspring. Any characteristics or trait that can be, any characteristics that can be passed from parents to offspring is called trait. Clear? So that time Mendel spoke of traits or factors, both the same thing, because that time the word gene was not discovered. So now in modern age, clear, now presently we consider same as that of trait. What is it? Trait, factor, gene, these all are same. Clear? Now what is the difference between genetics and genome? See, genetics key. What is genetics? Genetics is the study of heredity of traits of an organism and their variation within a population. Clear? And what is genomes? Genomics. Genomics is a study of genome or complete set of genetic material of an organism. So the complete set of genetic material of an organism is called genome. Clear? And what is genetics? Is the study of heredity of traits from an organism to the variation within a population. Now genetics was introduced by Mendel in 1865 and genomes was introduced by Tom Roderick in 1986. So genetics focus mainly on the behavior of genes, and genomics focuses on the entire genome of an organism. Next, in genetics it can be studied with the use of biochemistry and biology, whereas in genomics it can be used with the informations, it can be used with the studies with the use of bioinformations and molecular biology. Clear? So one is bioinformatics and molecular biology. Next, genetics, it is involved in the study of single gene. Clear? You have to keep in mind, genetics is the study of a single gene, whereas genomes, it is involved in the study of interaction between the genes. What are the interaction going on between the genes are called genomes. Clear? So like under genetics, epigenetics and population genetics are two subfields of genetics, and whereas in genomes there are heterosis, epistasis, pleurotrophy, and the study of interaction between loci or loci, clear, and alleles are the subfield of genomics. Now what is the difference between allele and locus? So I have said previously, the alternative form of gene is called allele. Clear? So we'll study in the monohybrid cross, like capital T and small t, these are hybrid, but the phenotype is tall. So here capital T and small t are alleles, but combiningly. Clear? So one gene responsible for tallness, but the alleles are capital T and small t, that is a hybrid, so it is tall. Capital T also tall, but small t is small. I'll come to with that later on. So next, what is the difference between allele and locus? See, an allele is an alternative form of a gene that is arisen by mutation and is function in the same locus of the homologous chromosome. Clear? And what is a locus? A locus refers to the position of allele on a chromosome. So where the positions of alleles are there in a chromosome, that is a locus. Like in case of allele, it is a nucleotide sequence of a gene, and this side is a locus is used as a marker. Clear? Like in allele, it may contain two or more allele, but this side it may contain one or two alleles. Clear? This side in allele, it is responsible for variation. That means it is responsible for variable traits within a population. Clear? So allele is responsible for variable traits within a population, whereas this side in locus, different loci consist of different alleles. Now what is Punnett square? See, these terminologies are very important because when I'll teach in the next class monohybrid, dihybrid process, these terminologies are must. In every line, these terminologies are needed. That's why this video has to be seen from start to last. Entire video has to be seen. And you have to memorize those definitions by understanding. Clear? If you just mug it up, you'll forget. Next, what is Punnett square? Chart that shows all possible combination of alleles that can result from genetic crosses. Clear? That is a Punnett square given by a scientist Punnett. Now, what is phenotype? Phenotype is the physical appearance of any organism or the external appearance of any organism. That is phenotype. Like tall is a phenotype. Genotype. Genotype is the genetic makeup of an organism or an organism's genetic makeup. Clear? It's called genotype. Like I have said, phenotype is tall. Now, this tallness is responsible for which type of allele? Capital T, capital T. So, this capital T is genotype. Alright. Next. Dominant and recessive. Clear? Dominant means they are superior. So, the gene that expresses its character in the heterozygous condition. Clear? That is dominant. And recessive is the gene that fails to express its character in the heterozygous condition. Now, what is hybrid? The progeny obtained by crossing two parents that differ in characters. Clear? Now, next is back cross. The cross between F1 hybrid and one of its parent. That can be dominant or recessive. That means F1 hybrid into, it can be crossing with recessive or dominant. And in test cross, what is test cross? A cross between hybrid with its homozygous recessive parent. Clear? It will be F1 hybrid with, it can be any hybrid, with the recessive of the previous generation. So it is used to identify the genotype of the hybrid. Now, homozygous, this definition is very clearly given. See, homozygous means having identical genes, and heterozygous means having two different genes for a particular characteristics. Clear? So heterozygous like capital T and small t, and homozygous means capital T and capital T. These are homozygous. So dominant and recessive I have already explained. Clear? Like capital T, capital T. This is homozygous, but this is dominant also. But capital T and small t, this is a heterozygous. But out of these two, capital T, small t, capital T is dominant and small t is recessive. Next, the difference between homozygous and heterozygous here clearly given. Homozygous means it contains two similar alleles for a particular trait, and this side for heterozygous, it contains two different alleles for a particular trait. Clear? So homo means similar allele and hetero means different allele. Next point of homozygous is it produces only one type of gamete, and this side for heterozygous it produces two different kinds of gametes. All right. Next, for homozygous, genotype for homozygous possesses either dominant or recessive, but never both the allele. Clear? For example, capital R or capital. One example is capital R or small. Next, heterozygous means genotype for heterozygous possesses both dominant and recessive allele. For example, capital R and small r. So, my dear student, these are the homework questions. First is define the following. You have to define chromosome, alleles, phenotype, genotype, dominant gene, recessive gene, alleles, F1 generation, F2 generation. So these all you will memorize and write it down in your copy. So thank you, student. This was all about the terminology of genetics. Hope you have understood all. You have to copy down all the definitions, memorize it so that it will be beneficial in the further lectures. Understand and memorize the definitions. Clear? So hear my entire lecture to clear your basics. So stay at home, stay safe, and again we'll meet in the next class. Thank you, students.